Don Mazzella here again for Small Business Digest. People talk about condominiums, about managing apartments, about uh, condos, etc. Well, we know in Florida there's been disasters. We know of many instances. Well, Tina Larson, she has a company that helps boards, community boards, uh, manage the buildings, and she's written a book. And when I heard about it, I said it had to be on my program. So, Tina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Don. Thank you for having me and for the nice introduction.
Well, Tina, first, tell us a little bit about yourself, then a little bit about your company, and finally a website.
Absolutely. So, number one, let's get this out of the way. I am from Sweden, hence
W-
been
We,
trying to get rid of it.
somehow we didn't doubt that.
Well, I have all kind of variations of where they think that where people think that I'm from. So I was told by a wise coach early on said, always make sure that you tell people up front so they know. Okay, so I'm from Sweden. I grew up on a farm in Sweden until I moved to United States. And naturally, coming from a farm, I wanted to move to New York City. So I moved to New York. I went back to school. After going back, I went back to school when I was in my late 20s. So that was actually my second career. I went into finance and I worked in finance for over 20 years, where I was a business analyst and a portfolio manager. I managed clients' money to grow their assets. Something that this year is probably not the best thing to do. But so I work on Wall Street, and my firm's policy was to always be so for each portfolio manager not to rely on other people's research. So we did our own in-house research. So I learned how to analyze companies and find the best investments for our clients. So I did that for 20 years. First for another firm, a small boutique firm that I helped grow from 100 million under management to over 20 billion over management under management, until I started my own firm together with my husband, because he's from Wall Street too. So we started a firm together doing basically the same, but with a more personalized and a smaller firm and our own firm. So that's my background.
Okay, but you have what kind of a company do you have right now?
Yes. So then what happened was that so my husband and I we bought our co-op in Manhattan. And what happened was that every year we get a letter from the board or the property manager saying that they were increasing the maintenance, which is the monthly dues that you pay if you live in a co-op. And they were increasing by a certain percent every year, about 5% per year. And that was, we didn't really pay attention. We were working, everything was going well, and we didn't really think about it. And then one year, we got the same letter on Christmas Eve. Go figure why they sent it to us on Christmas Eve. And it was the 10th year in a row. And we went like, right, wait a minute. So 5% every single year for 10 years, there's got to be something going on where they're not managing this right. So what we did was that we spoke with some neighbors who felt the same way. And then we organized and we got together a group and we held a coup. Very spooky. So we took over the board, and you can't be too I think that it varies from building to building, but in our building you can only be one board member per apartment. And because my husband is much more diplomatic than me, shall we say, he he's the board president now, and he has been for the last 11 years, I believe. And so, but the new board asked me, because of my analytical background in finance, if I could see if I could find some savings. So, and I'm not a magician. I don't know if 10,000 for one particular line item or expense line item, if that's high, if it's low, if it's normal. So I did what I knew from finance, which was that I gathered a bunch of financial statements from other buildings. And then I compare, and when I had enough data points, I could compare and I could see if that same 10,000 was high, low, or normal. And when we had all of this data, we made some phone calls, eliminated some services, got some competitive bids. And in the first 3 years, we were able to save our own co-op $340,000. And when we were out networking and people asked me what I did for a living, instead of saying financial advisor, because there are so many of them, and as you know, they grow on trees in New York City. So instead I introduced myself as I helped my co-op save $340,000. You would never believe it, but a lot of people, they said, "Oh, can I introduce you to my co-op board?" And we were like, "Do you think that we have a business here?" And then we set up our business, and that's it.
How how long have you been in business?
So we've been in business for 8 years,
Mm.
and it's a word of mouth uh, referral based business. We network a lot. We meet a lot of people. We've been to some expos and exhibits and stuff, but pretty much it's all word of mouth. People hire us, co-op and condo boards hire us, and then they tell their friends, and yeah, so that's how we grew our business.
Okay, so your website for your business before we get into the book.
So the website for our business is thefolsongroup.com. That's THEFOLSON group.com. We very often we see on Google that people often look for Folsom, like the prison, but no, or like Johnny Cash, but no, that's not. It's an N, Folsom.
How did
Uh,
you come up with that name?
so my husband's last name is Foley, and my last name is Larsson.
Hmm.
And Laurie didn't sound so good, so we ended up with Folsom.
Okay, so now you decided to write a book.
So I decided to write a book. Yes.
And what does the book do?
So the book talks about how co-op and kind of, well, it's really a guide for co-op and condo owners to get involved in their board and to understand how living in a co-op works and how the board governs over over the building. And then it's how the owners can get involved in getting on the board, and then it's best practices for boards.
Oh, okay, well let's start at the beginning. Why should
Yes.
someone get involved in running their their condominium or whatever?
Yeah, so it's just like any other government, so to speak. It's not really a government, but they govern the building. So you can take a reactive mode or a passive role in your investment and do nothing. Just like all of these moms who are now on trying to get into the city or to the school boards, right? They're trying
Hmm.
to get involved. So it's very similar. So you can own a co-op and you don't get involved. And that's understandable. It's not for everyone. But at the same time, in many cases, your apartment is your largest, or your home is your largest lifetime investment. So do you really want to leave it up to a board that might not be doing all the things that they could be doing to protect your investment? So we help owners get involved in boards. And then once they're on their board, we help guide them to become better boards. And one of the reason why I decided on writing this book now was because of Surfside, because that's really the ultimate worst case scenario. I mean, for obvious reasons. There are many other really bad or very emergencies that calls for immediate action also. But that was something where I went like, you know what? That really needs to be addressed. And it's something where there's so many co-op and condo owners who called us after Surfside happened, and they asked us, they said, how do I know that my building is safe, that my building won't collapse? And granted, if you live in New York City, your building is probably not going to collapse, or the risk of it is very minimal. But there are lots of other disasters that can happen in building because boards, if boards are operating in a reactive mode as opposed to in an active uh, mode, making sure that all risks are taken care of because before they take care of it, before
Well,
they become emergencies.
let me stop you right there. I know I don't live in New York. New York, I live in a house, but I do know of a case where the board, 20 years ago, knew about a leak but didn't do anything, and now the board is there's $3 million worth of damage that has to be replicated.
Yeah.
How does someone say to a board, "Well, you know there's a leak. What are you going to do about it?" And the board says, "We're not going to do anything." What do you do?
That's when that happens. I mean, that's when you need to step up. I mean, it's the same as the school system. So this many parents right now, they feel that the school system is not living up to its standard, so therefore they take action. The same for co-op or condo owners. If they feel that the board could be doing better in some way, it doesn't have to be all the ways, but in some ways taking care of that leak or some other project that they want to take care of, then you got to step up, you got to get involved. That's the only way you can do something. I mean, you can't do anything if you're just passively telling them what to do. You have to get involved.
Well, let's stop right there. So, if I hear you correct, you're saying you can't do anything. You're being passive unless you become active. And but you go to the board meeting. They listen to what you say and do what they want anyway. What do you do in a case like that?
Yeah, so I mean, you can't get them to do certain things. If their position is, if the existing board's position is to not take care of the leaks because it's going to be $3 million in your case, then the only way to make a change is by volunteering to the board. And one of the things that we do, and very often co-op and condo owners reach out to us to get help with this, is we help them how to organize to get on the board. And I've actually, in the book, I'm talking a lot about that, because one of the thing is, if you, Don, say, you know what, they're not taking care of my leaks, so therefore I need to run for the board. Well, you're only one vote. So for you to run by yourself is almost, in our opinion, a waste of your time and effort. And you're busy as it is, you don't have time for this, right? So we help them and we guide them on how to organize a group of people so that they have majority, so they can make a change.
Let's stop right there. What's the name of your book, and when will it be available?
Okay, so the book is called Living the High Life: How Smart Co-op and Condo Owners Protect Themselves and Their Investment.
Do you have a copy there?
I don't, because I just gave away the last one. And
Okay.
I just ordered them, so they're in the mail. And so it's coming out on pre-sale on October 8th, and then the hard copy is coming out on October 15th.
We'll repeat it again, the title, because I
Yes.
stepped over it.
Okay. Living the High Life. It's going to be available on Amazon, and it's pre-order on October 8th.
Mhm.
And then it's coming out, if you want a hard copy, it's October 15th. And on Amazon. Oh, yes. and it's available, not right now, but it will be on October 8th. On our website, it's thefolsongroup.com//book.
Okay. Well, now let's back up a minute. Let's talk. Um, you're sitting there. You see a problem. You say the way to do it is to organize. But well, as in the case of another one, somebody upstairs is not running. There's a leak that's going to leak through to your property. What do you do when that person ignores everything, and eventually, as is the case, well, just recently, the water cascades down into your property. How do you uh, how do you kind of uh, find a way to head off these things before they happen?
Yeah, and it's not easy. It's like everything else. Getting people to do things is not the easiest thing in the world, right? But one way to do it is that I can go up and I can knock on their door, and then I can yell at them for uh, making the water leak. Or I can try to reach out to become friendly with them, because nobody likes to be not nice to people that they like.
Well, let's go on to um, you get on the board. What do you
Yeah.
look for in ways to improve the finances of the condominium, or what are some of the things you do in your book, say in your book, to help people once they're on the board?
So once they're on the well, once they're on the board, they should call us. That's my opinion, because we can help them guide them in the right direction, and we can also, I mean, our consulting services is to help them uh, reduce their expenses, their ongoing operating expenses, reduce how much they pay for their capital projects. So if they want to do any or there are always capital projects in a building. They need to repair the leaks, the facades, the pipes, the this, that. So we help them with how much they pay for those projects. We also project manage those projects. So if it's too much for the board to handle all of these different projects that they need to take care of, we can project manage them from start to finish product.
Mm.
Then we also provide them with lots of resources along the way, and to do things in a more effective way that takes less of their time, and it's more effortless for them if they have us there. Just like if you're trying to grow your business, you call a business consultant.
Mm. Give us one example of how you help how they can manage their time better,
And manage their time better. So
or their
one,
board business better.
yeah. So one way is, how when you run a business, you use all of these different tools. When you're on your board, you typically don't use the same tools. And in our opinion, we very often speak with boards who do not use the same tools for their board business. And we say, why don't you use this? Do you use this for your regular business? You use Zoom, you use Calendly, you use cloud services, you have your own records. You don't trust a third party with your records. But yet, in the co-op and condo space, very often boards rely on their property manager. They don't have this document. They have to ask the property manager. And we're like, well, why don't you, as they send you all these documents throughout the year, why don't you save it on your own cloud storage? So you have a building board's cloud storage, like a Google Drive or a OneDrive or something. And then you store all the documents, and you don't have to be so reliant on your property manager. And everything is at your fingertips.
Good one. Well, how do property managers that don't like you, I gather?
Not that much. But we're nice to them. We try to collaborate, and we actually make their job much easier because very often they don't have time for all of these extra projects, and we don't handle the day-to-day operation, which they handle, but we take care of a lot of um, projects that are just a nuisance for them, where they don't make any extra money, and it makes it so we actually make it easier, but they don't know that. So therefore, we're trying to get the word out so that they all know that we will actually make their lives easier.
Your website again, and for the book?
Yeah, so our website is thefolsongroup.com, and for the book section, it's thefolsongroup.com/book, and we're gonna have the first chapter for free. There's a link to how to buy the book, and there will also be a workbook with all kinds of templates that co-op and condo board members can download and use it for their own building to make their board business easier.
Okay, we have just a few minutes left, Tina. What would you like to leave our audience? Oh, one quick question. Are you nationwide or are you just New York City?
We are nationwide.
Okay.
We typically market to New York, but we are nationwide. Absolutely.
Okay, so we now have 2 minutes left. What would you like to leave our audience with?
That the if you own in a co-op or condo, the way to protect your investment is by going to become active. Operating in a reactive mode, meaning just being an owner and not participating, is you're not gonna get that gym or that roof garden or solar panels or whatever you want to, or an renovated hallways or lobby. You're not gonna get that unless, or you might. You're. It's gonna be easier for you to get it if you get involved and you roll up your sleeves and do something about whatever that thing is that you care about. Could be costs. Maybe you want to reduce your expenses. We went 8 years without increasing maintenance, only because we were able to save as much money as we were for our own co-op. And
You
there's no
should have
reason.
said that at the top of the hour.
I
That
should.
that line is enough.
I know. I just
Okay.
realized.
Mm. So your website one last time.
thefolsongroup.com, and for the book, thefolsongroup.com/book.
Spell it out one last time.
THEFOLSON group.com/book.
Well, on that note, we say, Tina, thank you so much. I learned a lot. I hope the audience did as well.
Thank you so much, Don. I really appreciate your time and